How's it going, everybody? Today I'm bringing you another Floowandereeze deck profile. This time I took this to a case tournament that our locals had yesterday. It was super well run. It was our first case tournament this locals and first one I had ever actually been to. And I managed to get first place with this deck. This is probably, right now, this is the deck that's like the most fun for me right now, just because of the way I play with it. And I kind of treat it like a combo deck. I think I mentioned that in my last video, but a lot's changed since my last video, and I truly believe this is like one of the best meta calls right now. And I'm really excited to show you guys kind of like my theory behind this and why I think this is such a good deck. So just to get the easy ones out of the way, so we're still on 3 Eaglin, 3 Urbina. All this is mandatory. Nothing more to say for these. I decided to stay with 1 Ostrich and 1 Toucan still. There were a couple times during the case tournament where I missed the second Stree. I might try out a second, but right now it's still working well for me. It's definitely something I'll experiment with, but right now, for the tournament, all these did exactly what I need them to do. So that's it for the baby ones. Alrighty, so next up, I actually played 2 Empen. So I know a lot of the Floowandereeze purists out there are going to be really excited about this because I finally, upped it to 2. Since I was such a strong supporter of 1, I decided to try out for this case tournament. It was one of the last minute additions I made to the deck. I wanted 1 more Wind Winged Beast, and I didn't want to add another Little Bird. So I finally gave in. I said, you know what, let's just try it out. And for the first time ever, it actually came up in like 3 matches, probably 4 games actually, where the second one actually did come up. So if there was ever a time where I was happy that I, tried out a different ratio or something, it was for this tournament. So going forward, I will be playing 2. I was one of those people who thought it never came up. It never came up to me, or the scenario never came up until this weekend. And I kind of had to like think of, combo lines on the fly because I wasn't used to it. But seeing what, the deck can do with 2 now, I have jumped on the bandwagon, and I think 2's the move right now, to be honest, guys. So yeah, try out 2 if you haven't, if you've been playing 1 like me, and see if you like it. But yeah, I think I'm going to stay at 2, at least for right now. So next, mandatory 1-ofs. This doesn't change. I never want to play second Ryza. Never want to play 2 of any of these. These work fine for me. Next up, I'm still on the shifter package. Playing this is just leagues better than playing the Dogmatica cards, in my opinion. This helps you play around hand traps, and this pretty much destroys every deck that you actually care about playing against. So I genuinely believe this is a mandatory card to play in this deck. Alrighty, so next up, let's go to the pot cards. So, of course, Prosperity. My theory behind this is still the same. I think you have to do a total rearranging of your entire strategy for Flunder if you're playing Extravagance, because Prosperity is so good in this deck. Like I've said before, you don't really need to see, you don't need to have a big hand of cards. You just need to see 1 or 2 specific cards to play, to dodge hand traps and disruptions like that. So that's why you play Prosperity over this. Of course, if you only have Extravagances, play that. But I do believe you have to, kind of shift your deck to cater to that card. 3 Duality, of course. There were probably 1 or 2 times where I was able to dig for 9 when I'm looking for like my side deck cards and stuff like that. These cards are perfect. I think the reason why, one of the big reasons why this deck is so good, in my opinion, is because we can play these 6 cards right here. Being able to, our game 2s and 3s are so strong because of these cards, because we're able to find our side deck cards. Like, I genuinely believe, especially after seeing how Desires got hit, I think because of decks like this eventually has to go to 1. Prosperity really isn't. This is the first time I ever thought this card was unfair, was this weekend, because this card is just, nuts, to be honest with you. Like, it's just ridiculous. That's why you got to play. As long as we have broken cards like that, you got to play them. So next, I'm still on the 3 Book of Moon. In my last profile, I mentioned that with the addition of the new Flunder Quick Play, I might have cut this down, but I decided to keep it, and I'm really glad I did. There were plenty of times where I played against like skill drain deck where I'm able to dodge skill drain or dodge hand traps with Book of Moon, and the fact that it sets and lets me, you know, continue to play and resolve effects is huge. So Book of Moon's great. There were a couple of times I sided out like 1 or 2 game 2s and 3s. Excuse me. But other than that, it was great. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed Book of Moon. Don't plan on cutting this down whatsoever. This though was one of my new additions from my last profile, and I'm telling you guys, I think Cosmic might be the best main deck kind of like staple to have for your deck right now. And what's crazy is this deck doesn't even lose to like Scythe or anything like that. We don't go into our extra deck. This is mandatory, and I think decks that care about their extra deck. So like, like Dragon Link and stuff like that I play. But the reason you play it in this is because this helps you dodge, important disruptions that a lot of the meta decks play. Like, this card is never dead. And so, like, for example, like for the decks we care about, let's say we're playing the Mirror. You can hit the Field Spell, you can hit the Trap. If you're playing against Dragon Link, Tidian, Ravine, Boot Sector. This deck's, I believe, freest matchup, which is Phantom Knights, you can hit Fog Blades, because even if they have 3 Fog Blades set, if you have this in a Book of Moon, you don't care about really anything. Like, this card is so good, guys, I'm telling you. And another reason I play Cosmic is because the way I made this deck is I wanted to have my main deck 40 cards and my extra deck. I wanted my game 1s to be so versatile that I could literally have an out and beat any deck. And so our deck's worst matchup is anything that has Zombie World. If I had played in my last profile any deck that was, spamming out Zombie World and stuff like that, I would literally have to auto scoop game 1, and because I didn't have an out. Like, literally, no extra deck, no main deck out. This, funny story, this won me actually my finals, because of course I played a bunch of PK the entire tournament, a bunch of Phantom Knights, like, easy, 2-0s, whatever. And then I look at the last round, I'm like, fuck, I'm playing against Zombie World deck. And luckily I made the meta call to put these in the main, and being able to get over, anti-spells and Zombie Worlds, won me that final round. So that was actually the only game I dropped, was in the finals. I actually lost game 1. I didn't get to see this fast enough, and I wasn't about to just, waste time and try and like wait. The game just got too far ahead of me. So Cosmic Cyclone was the best tech of the day by far. Won me so many games and came up in every matchup I played against. 3 of the new spell, obviously. This card's insane. Spoiler alert right now, I did take out the enemy controllers that I was playing in my last list. And the reason is because enemy controller is far better going second than this card, but this card is obviously so much better going first than enemy controller. And going second, it's great too. So as far as the overall pros and cons, this card's better, even though enemy controller is slightly better going second. And I took out the enemy controller for another reason, is because I don't want that many cards that are tributing off my things as cost, my birds, because the whole point is, the only slight downside to this is you're not really replacing a body with it like enemy controller. So I'm not losing, like if I'm playing through disruptions, I can enemy controller and I'm taking another body and my flunders are still resolving. So I'm not down a body on board when it's time to tribute summon. And you'd be surprised how many times that comes up. So you kind of have to play differently, but this card's just leagues better. It's a mandatory 3 of. This card's insane, and the fact that it gives you 500 life point boost, it's totally wasn't a necessary add-on to this card whatsoever, but it gave this deck an out in time for some reason. Like, this card literally could have had every other word except that gain 500 life points, and it would be 100% mandatory, but Konami decided to give us that additional effect, which is crazy. So 3 map, obviously you still play 3 map. Insane card. Like, play through pretty much every significant hand trap. And then 1 Unexplored Winds. I actually might consider bumping this to 2. There were several games actually where people like don't read this card properly and realize that the effect to tribute off your opponent's cards isn't a hard once per turn or anything like that. Just the draw effect. So I was able to like really pop off and tribute people's Fog Blades, Rusties, Golden Lords, when it came up, different spells and traps. So It's crazy, and this card really, I might legit, you know, play a second copy of this just because it makes the going second game even stronger, because a lot of people see this right away. You know, people have like a DPE and other disruptions on board, and there were times where I literally just straight up just activated this, my very first card, just activated the card, that's it. And people just know that this is the card that lets you tribute over their cards, and so they get kind of flustered and scared, and so they get rid of this right away, when really it's like, okay, sweet, so I just, you know, baited out disruption for nothing. So this is something I'll definitely consider playing 2 of in the future. But it's an incredible card. Like, when you're actually popping off with this deck, there's no recovery for your opponent. So next we have a couple one-ofs. So one call by, one gold sark, and then the one defissure. So I had actually cut this card. I wasn't playing it just because I was playing cards like terraforming and stuff like that, which you actually don't see in this list. And I was trying to think of a card from my last spot really that would be meaningful, and this card, you know, I went back to it. I was like, you know what, I think for the meta right now, this is a good call. And I think I saw this card once against a Sky Striker DPE deck, and it actually bought me a couple of turns into that let me play and come back and win. So it was really nice when I saw it. This card though, guys, I am so happy that I decided to play Gold Sark again. I had cut that in this other list I was testing, and I decided to put this card back in, and I deadass won 2 games because of this. One was in the finals, actually. I didn't open very optimally, and I got drolled, and I had a hand that couldn't really do anything if I got drolled, so it was just one of those unfortunate situations. But I managed to get Gold Sark, and it was against the Zombie Eldritch deck, so I Gold Sarked my Harpies, and it was crazy. I Gold Sarked the Harpies that I have in the side deck, spoiler alert, and it actually came up where those 2 standby phases passed, and I got it, and I was able to destroy like 4 Backrow with that card, and which let me win that game 3. And then there was, I forgot, I might have been against a Phantom Knight deck, or no, Sky Striker DP. I Gold Sarked, I think it was, yeah, it was the quick play. I had an Empen and a bunch of spells, but my spells needed me to have a little bird, and it was just a game state where, you know, this was going to go several turns. So I Gold Sarked this, and those 2 standby phases went by, and once this came back to my hand, I was able to full combo, and I literally just won that turn because of the advantage I was able to put up. So this was Cosmics and Gold Sark were the MVPs. This card single-handedly won me 2 games, one of them being a game 3 in the final. So it was really incredible. And the last 2 cards are 2 Dreaming Town. So I cut this down from 3 to 2. Definitely don't play one of this. 2 comes up a lot. This was the first tournament where I used the effect to Book of Moon my opponent's monsters a lot, actually. It only came up every once in a while, but with the second Empen, that effect comes up a lot more, and it's another reason why I like playing 2 Empen now. So definitely still on 2 of those. So next I'm going to go over the extra deck. So the extra deck is actually the same for my last video, but I'll still show it here. So here's all the XZs I played, Links, and then 1 Synchro, and then these 3. So this hasn't changed. One thing I will tell you I will add in, I'm not sure what I'll take out yet, but I want to put a Relinquished Anima in here because people really aren't respecting those zones. And I finally found mine, otherwise it would have been in here for the tournament. So I'm going to put that in. I'm not sure what I'll take out for that. Most of these are just for, you know, the decks that played like the Dogmatica engine, or if you play the mirror that plays that engine, you know, you can take advantage of it. There was only 1 or 2 times where I could have made something for the tournament, but it, you know, it never came up. A lot of these cards though are really nice when they do come up. So you can kind of mix and match. You can throw whatever you want in here, but I think it's important to still put cards that are meaningful just in case they do come up. So that's just my idea. So now I'm going to show off the side. So first, I'm still on the 3 Evenly. Evenly is really nice. This card's just insane. Like, I never resolved it or you saw it any of my game 2s. But every time, you know, for my other tournaments that I play this deck, like, it just comes in clutch. 3 Dark Ruler. I don't side deck Lightning Storms. And there are times where I miss lightning storms, and there's times I don't. So it kind of depends. Like if I'm going against a back row deck, sometimes I will elect just to go second, especially with this main deck and side deck that I have built right now. Like there are times where I'll just go against like Eldritch back row, and I'll, whether if I lose game one, I might just say game two, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, you go first. And I'll just side in these with my other back row removal cards, because yeah, you just kind of have to like read the situation and stuff like that, and not be afraid kind of, thing, because you might, you lose game one, you're like, oh, I got to go first because I can't let them set up back row. But with the amount of, back row hate you play in this deck, you can get away with stuff like that. So yeah, even though I kind of miss Lightning Storm sometimes, these kind of get the job done, to be honest. Next, we have 3 of these, 3 Harpy's Featherstorm. For some reason, I still see lists that aren't playing this. I have no idea why. This card's insane and should literally be a staple in every person's side deck. I wouldn't main this, but I'd rather main it than not play this card at all. This card's insane. I saw the one time I sided it and saw it, I didn't get to activate it because I had already won the game with other cards, but I just had it set sitting there for like 2 turns. But this card's insane. Like, this super unfair for decks like us. Any deck that can play this should be abusing this card to its full potential. Next, I actually decided to play 3 Sphere Mode. I didn't get to Sphere Mode anyone, unfortunately, but this is just... it was either this or Lightning Storm, and I kind of just wanted... a lot of people are siding like anti-spells and stuff like that. And if I felt like my opponent was going to play that, maybe like if I was going to play like a Dragon Link player or something like that, there might be, if I kind of have the read on that, I might not play like a card like Dark Ruler no more or something like that. And to be honest, I just want to like get rid of everything they have on board for that situation. And it has come up too against like the Shark deck, where you can tribute off their board, because as you saw in my main deck, I don't play, other than Shifter, I don't play hand traps. And I kind of like that about this deck, is because you let your opponent pop off, and then it leaves them to guess, like, okay, what do you have? I either have a card, 6 hands that are all gas, that's going to let me play through your stuff, or I'm going to have 5 cards all gas, and then a Sphere Mode or something like that. So I enjoy Sphere Mode. I'm probably going to keep these in. But yeah, this card's insane. So the last 3 spots were kind of like flex spots. So the first one, obvious, is Harpies. Like I said, like I gold started for this in the finals to see that, to win my last round, which was crazy. Just back row hate. I also played 1 twin. So I realized that there were times where maybe going into like a game 2 or 3 against like a back row deck where I was thinking like there's probably a situation where I want to go first, where I don't want to keep evenlies in, because you could totally just kind of like do that and keep like 3 evenlies in going first, and kind of just like bluff your opponent out and just have like a game of like mind games basically. But I realized that there are times where I wanted one more back row hate card that wasn't like evenly, that I could keep in going first, and so I decided to make it twin, and it worked out perfect for me, so I was really happy about that. And the last card was this. This was literally just a last minute flex spot because I had no idea what to put in. If you guys haven't read this card, I think I was testing in Shaddolls a while back, but basically, if you control a face-up monster that was Tribute, Ritual, or Fusion Summon until the end phase of your opponent's next turn, neither player can Synchro or Xyz, and then Synchro and Xyz cannot attack, as well as their effects being negated. So it was a cute little tech. I never even sided it, but I just played this because I literally could not think of another card to put in. It took me like maybe 30 minutes to try and figure out the last 3 slots in my side deck, and when I was just going through my binder of like staples and tech cards, I was just like, what does this card do again? And I reread it, and I was like, oh wow, it counts if you have a tribute summon monster. So I was like, okay, sure. It would have been a cute card to kind of play against. I didn't play any Sword Soul, actually. I avoided all the Sword Soul players there, but I genuinely don't believe this deck has a hard time with that. This deck's insane, and it doesn't really have like a horrible matchup unless they're playing like a Zombie World deck, where if you don't have a main decked out, you kind of just scoop. But Yeah, guys, this is probably my favorite deck right now. I'm almost tempted to do like a test hand video and kind of like, kind of show off what this deck can actually do and how it's meant to be played, because a lot of people don't believe me and they laugh when I say it's a combo deck, but it really is, if you play it correctly. And so I might make a test hand video. You guys can leave in the comments if you want to see something like that. But this deck is so fun. Like, I have a blast. This deck, I broke insane boards going second in game 1s and game 2s yesterday. Just off main deck engine, like nothing else. No side deck cards, nothing like that. And that was my goal with making this deck, is just make a main deck, my main 40 and my extra deck so versatile that my game 1s are insane. And this deck did literally everything I wanted it to do. I only dropped a single game the entire box tournament, and it was just in the finals. And luckily, it was, even though it was game 1, I won the next 2. So still made it out on top. So I was very grateful with how this deck performed. Hope you guys like the profile, and let me know what you think in the comments. Later.